Greetings and salutations. Did I startle you? I'm sorry. I'm not gonna bore you today with the blue Jeep. But I am gonna tell you what I did yesterday, and I didn't record any of it because I was fighting a migraine, and I muscled through it, and I did flush the cooling system because it looked like somebody filled the cooling system with pond water. There was dirt in it. But yeah, so I spent a couple of hours flushing that. I went down to Walmart this morning and got some more coolant, and I'm probably gonna, if I keep it, I'm probably gonna have to do that 3 or 4 more times, because on that particular Jeep, there's a bypass valve in the heater core, and it won't allow for the coolant to go all the way through the heater core and, you know, backwards through the cooling system, which is the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to flush it backwards because as the cooling system works, all the sediment tends to lean in the direction of the flow, and when you flush it, you're going against that grain and you're forcing that stuff to flake off. Anyway, there's a bypass, there's a valve in there so that when you turn the heat off, it stops the flow of coolant through the heater core. It's a Mopar thing, apparently. And GM's like, they don't care. Just run coolant through the damn thing. Zero frigs. But anyway, that was a long and arduous process, and by the time I got done with it, I was in a full-blown migraine. And I started cleaning out the inside of an old cast member on this channel. Big Ugly. If you're new to this channel, you probably haven't seen him because he's been banished to the backyard for the last 3 years. But to bring you all up to speed, this is a 1989 3/4 ton Suburban. Originally came with a TBI 350 5.7 and a turbo hydro 400 automatic transmission, a 208 transfer case. I don't know if that came with locking hubs, but I got it with locking hubs, worn lockers, or not lockers, worn locking hubs. And I bought this truck in 2012, and I bought this to replace the 1985 half-ton 4x4 that I had, picture here. Because when I built that half-ton out of several vehicles, and that was a kick-ass truck. I don't regret selling it, but it was something that it just wasn't practical. A standard cab pickup truck with a family of 5, it just wasn't practical. This was more practical for a family of 5. In fact, if it wasn't for the fuel economy that this thing was getting, it was a more practical vehicle than even the Jeeps. This truck took us a lot of places. Death Valley a few times, all points in throughout the desert here in the Pahrump Valley. In 2014, the tranny went, and I made several attempts to rebuild it myself on the cheap, and suffice to say I failed miserably. So after about 4 times of taking it in and out of this truck, I caved and bought a reman transmission. So it has a brand new, it's 3 years old now, but it has a low mileage, had 0 mileage when I got it. It was a reman transmission I got from AutoZone. And while I had the thing out, I just happened to take notice that every gasket on the engine was leaking, so I decided to pull the engine out and go through it, and I discovered that it had needed new bearings and probably should get some new piston rings. And I took my pistons and I threw them in my parts cleaner that had Purple Power in it. Don't soak pistons in Purple Power, ever. There's a coating on the piston skirts, and Purple Power will eat that coating right off your pistons. And when I took them out of I left them in there overnight, and when I took them pistons out, yeah, I cleaned all the carbon out of the top, oil little grooves in the top of the piston. Took all the oil and crud out of there, but it also gave the pistons a kind of ashen gray look, and I I think it was a good idea to put them back in the way they were looking. So I found a set of brand new seal power pistons on eBay that were standard. This block was standard, and I put that all back together. And in the interim, because this was my daily, I took the big block that is now in the red truck and put it in here. And let me tell you, man, with that big block in this thing is a very capable rig. Pass everything but a gas station, and it's a good thing it's got a 40-gallon gas tank. But it was just not a practical vehicle to drive and do all these explorers that we like to do, because sometimes we got to drive 2 hours to get to where we're going, and 2 hours in this thing and you've burnt through half a tank of fuel already. But I took that TBI engine finally back over a year ago, almost 2 years ago now, when I pulled the engine out of a perfectly functioning truck and put it in this dually, and then put the 350 back in here with the TBI setup. And I had taken all the wiring and everything, and all I needed was one wire to hook up to the distributor on the big block. And I took everything else and zip tied it to the firewall, and made sure I didn't break anything. But apparently I broke a ground or two, and I could not get that TBI to work. I called my cousin, and he helped me troubleshoot it, and we got it, between the two of us, we got it going far enough to drive it to where it's been sitting for the last 3 years. And now I need to either sell it as a parts truck or try to get it running and sell it as a running truck. And I'd rather sell it as a running truck. So what I have is a eBay intake manifold, and my old HEI that's got a solid state trigger thing in it. That used to be in the big block, and I replaced it with a billet distributor. Anyway, and my neighbor Ken, the gentleman and scholar that he is, an old hot rodder, he had bought a Corvette a year or so ago that had a 383 with a Holley 4-barrel carburetor on it. And he doesn't like Holley carburetors, he likes Edelbrock carburetors, and so do I. But I'm not, at this point, not willing to throw $390 at an Edelbrock carburetor for this thing. So he gave me that Holley, and I need to get that Holley on here and get this thing, get the spark plug wires back on it, and get the fuel system replumbed, and see if I can't get this thing to fire off, and then I can break it in, and hopefully it doesn't seize on me, and I can get this thing running and get it cleaned out and put back together and send it on down the road. So this is the next major project. I love these little square bodies, man. They're easy to work on. Well, it's all relative. Look at all the room for activities. That's one thing I like about these little square bodies. And I've had so many of them that I know them like the back of my hand. Having said that, I want to show you something. Just as a public service announcement. If you go to the range to go shooting and you're using your hood as a rest, use a sandbag on top of your hood. Don't lay your AR directly on your hood and pew pew, because you will send some rounds through your hood. See the exit wounds? Entrance wounds, exit wounds, and that's where the battery goes, right where that bucket's at. And my hood got stuck one day, so I clubbed it with a tire iron. That's the beauty about having a truck like this, bunch of cowboy pinstriping, big freaking dent in the door, paint's fluffing off, some dent repair that I never finished. That's from yanking stumps and having a strap come back and whack. Look at all the Bondo in this door. It's one of those I don't give a shit rigs, you know. It's one of those rigs where you just don't care if you run it, you know, if you run it down the side of a cactus. But I do have to get it running and see if there's anybody that's willing to give me a little bit of cash for that thing and send it on to a new home and let somebody else dank with it. A couple of bits I need to get for that yet, but I think the next time you see that will either be A, if I decide to keep it and I'm selling greenie, or 2, if I sell it as I'm doing the transaction and selling that to the new owner. A couple of you commented about redoing the headliner, and I thought about doing that, but I don't know if I showed this way back in the beginning. This thing had a headliner in it, but it looked like a couple of monkeys got up in there and just tried to take the headliner out. Didn't know what they were doing, and they ended up destroying the thing. And I threw it in here, and it's completely deckered now. But I tried glass in this. This is never going to look good. But you know, this corner's all ripped out. This cord was completely missing. They ripped it right through the what the hell is that thing called? But I don't think I've done it before where I've taken the headliners down and taken the material off, and the backer was still in good shape, and just rebacked and just glued new material to the old backer. And I thought about doing that to the green Jeep, but I have a son who's autistic, and he likes to pick at things. And one day he decided to start picking at my headliner. My headliner wasn't in terrible shape and wasn't in great shape, but it wasn't terrible until he did that. And he started developing a taste for upholstery. He's been gnawing on my seats. Sometimes that boy, I tell you. But so big ugly, I need to see if I can get that engine running. If I can, great, I'll sell it as a running vehicle. If I can't, great, I'll sell it as a parts vehicle. The dually, I'm still mad at it, but I have been doing a little bit of work here on the dart body work and getting closer. But I just hate sanding. But anyway, that's what I've been up to the last few days. This weekend, sometime this weekend, I think I'm gonna take you out and show you a waterfall in Death Valley. I know that's an oxymoron, but they exist. So stay tuned for that. That's all I got for today, man. I'm sorry I don't have anything exciting to offer you, but you know, sometimes life isn't all that exciting. Sometimes life's just not exciting. It's just work. So let me get back at it, and I'll talk to you later. In the meantime, if you haven't done so yet, click the sub button and the little bell icon right next to it so YouTube will let you know next time I upload a video. Like and share this video with your vast social media network. It helps the channel. I'd appreciate it if you could do that. If you're interested in any of the things that you see in these videos, with the projects that I'm working on, like the blue Jeep and the Dodge Dart. If you see something that you think might be on Amazon, there's a good chance that it's in the description. Also, if you're interested in any camera equipment, some of the gear that I use to make these videos, they're down there in the description. And if you purchase anything through those links, either the product directly or going through those links, the channel can earn a couple of pennies commission on whatever it is you do buy. It's just pennies, but every penny counts. This is my sole source of income currently. So if you could do that, and if you can't afford to do that, I thank you in advance. If you can't afford to do that, then don't worry about it. Enjoy the content anyway. This means we're probably related. So until next time, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep your powder dry. Have a splendid day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Okay.
Bye.